Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're removing shoulder pads.
In this video, we're going to be tackling the removal of shoulder pads from two different items of clothing. The first one is this dress, which hopefully will be straightforward because the shoulder pads are on the outside of the lining. The second is this coat. And yes, I am cheating a bit here because I'm wearing a shoulder padded coat on top of a shoulder padded dress. It isn't actually quite as bad as it looks here. Still, they are pretty voluminous, and this coat will be a bit more of a challenge because the shoulder pads are sewn in inside the lining. So I have to find a way to get to them safely without absolutely trashing the coat. But never fear, we've got a way forward. We're going to do it. Let's start with the dress, shall we? I got this dress online a couple of weeks ago during lockdown 2.0, and it was £3.73 I think, because I paid for it via weight, and the shoulder pads probably accounted for most of that. It's 100% silk and the beading on it is to die for. I really love this dress, and although obviously this year I won't be going out anywhere for Christmas or New Year's, I'm just going to wear it at home and feel like a princess. I'm starting off, I'm turning the dress inside out. It's much easier to get to the shoulder pads if the dress is inside out. And when I looked, I found that the shoulder pads were actually only attached in 3 different places. So I got my seam ripper and I was just carefully removing a stitch at a time. It was quite difficult because the cotton was black, and obviously the material of the dress and the shoulder pads is black as well. So I did struggle a little bit. At some points it looks like I'm about to poke myself with the seam ripper. Please rest assured I didn't poke myself a single time, although this angle does look like I'm about to jab myself. No injuries, it was all fine. I found I had to move the pad around quite a lot. Flipping it over meant I could get to the stitches that I needed to rip much easier, so that was quite handy. And there you have it. So you can see here, the shoulder without the pad, it's much more flexible, it's much more bendy. And then the shoulder with the pad, it looks like there's a burger in there. It's really hefty still. So here I go again with the other shoulder pad, just snip, 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 and it's really easy to remove it. Bye-bye. So here's a quick reminder, this is the before, hefty, and this is the after. They fit much more closely to my actual shoulder line. You may notice, I don't know if you can see, but I actually forgot to do up the back of the dress, so it does fit much more snugly around my waist. It's much more fitted, but never mind. I love it. It's just so pretty. I'm so pleased with it. I was feeling pretty jubilant by this point, which was good because now we're moving on to the coat. Now, most people might expect to go in the part of the lining that corresponds with the shoulder pad, but I didn't want to do that because I had done some research and found out that's not what you're supposed to do. So there is usually a place on the coat lining where you can actually get in and turn it inside out. Now, I didn't have a gap, but I did have some top stitching that was different to the rest of the lining, and I realised that's probably where I needed to go in. I still decided to have a look at the sleeve, which is where I'd seen some tutorials recommending you to go in. I even tried it, as you'll see in a second. There I go, just trying to sort out the stitches, but of course you're not supposed to go in there, so I couldn't do it. Being completely honest about this, I was quite daunted by the sheer amount of fabric. This coat is massive, as you'll see when I try it on again. And knowing that I had to go in via the lining to get to the shoulder pads, I was a bit nervous. So I took it all really slowly, and still I think the overall process only took me about 20 minutes. So if you have a coat and you want to remove the lining and the shoulder pads, it is possible to do it, and it's not a particularly tricky job. Just take it slow and think it through as you go. I picked up this coat before lockdown. It was £9.99 and it's originally from Principles. It's actually a wool cashmere mix, and it's big obviously, and I'm so glad because I was looking for a nice voluminous coat, really good quality, but I didn't want to spend a fortune, and for £9.99 I was really chuffed with that, and I knew that I could take a bit of a risk and see if I could actually get rid of the shoulder pads. I did a poll on Instagram because I did have a bit of an ethical dilemma, I suppose, wondering about whether I should remove the shoulder pads from something that's so iconic and vintage. It's most definitely an 80s piece, but everyone was like, yeah, just get rid of them. So here I have pulled the shoulder pad through the gap in the lining that I've made, and I'm just removing it. It was tricky because it was attached in quite a few different places, and I ended up removing a lot of the shoulder pad, almost like making it tufted before I got to the stitches, but perseverance was the key. As I say, I did wonder whether I should actually remove the shoulder pads or not, because part of me thought it was sacrilege to remove such an iconic piece of the very structure of something that makes it so iconic. However, I also thought I will wear it without the shoulder pads, and it's stopping it from going to landfill. And it's always better to reuse and recycle and upcycle wherever possible. So that is what I did. So I've almost got rid of this shoulder pad. There's a few more stitches. There you go. And then I put that shoulder pad back in, and then I reached into the coat, found the other shoulder pad, brought it out, and repeated the process. Just seam ripped, got rid of the stitches from the 3 or 4 different places where it was attached. Et voila. I chose not to sew up the lining hole that I had made because it was neat, and then I could call it a no-sew. So here we go. Here is the before, and here is the after. Now it's still quite big on the shoulders because there is some excess fabric from where the shoulder pads were, but I love it.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. See you in the next video. Bye!